Iburu, Iboya, Ibuche, Che, Cyberland. It's your favorite Babalao. Omodun, Ondileke, coming at you with another great video. This is in reference to the Letra de Ano for Cuba. All right, the last Letra de Ano that I did was specifically for the one that I am applying for the terrain that I live in, right? The one that I am applying for the Ile that I am governing. And I want to make sure that that is 100% clear because my concept of Letra de Ano has not changed. But I have a lot of viewers that wanted a digestible English version of the Letra de Ano for Cuba. Now, there is some controversy, right? Because Letra de Ano in Cuba, there was multiples that were released. Now, the one that is typically generational, right, that's been going on for about 28 to 30 years is the one from the Association of Yoruba Culture in Cuba. All right, there's one that's similar to that branches off in Miami. All right, so I want you to understand which Letra de Ano I am referring to. So with that said, let's jump right in. And like I said in my last videos, happy holidays, all right, to each and every one of you. Many blessings to you and your family, from my family to yours. And let's dig in, all right? Let's get it in. So the Letra de Ano for Cuba came out with three signs, right? Baba Yolbe, Ogunda Verde, which is Ogunda Olbe. And then you have the second witness that came out, which was Ofun Olbe. All right, something that is very similar, that's something that needs to be considered, is that we are sitting on a lot of olbes, right? And what does that mean, right? That means that the first sign that I'm going to read you is Baba Yolbe, the first sign of 256, the one that dictates and has set the pace for the rest of the 255. So Baba Yolbe is going to be where we're going to lean on hard. Where particularly there's times when we lean on that first witness and that second witness to really try to understand and really chew on what is the concept of the letra. I need you to understand that. It's logic, right? You see the pattern, right? Olbe, olbe, olbe. Whether it's Ogunda, whether it's Ofun, that's what we got. All right, so let's talk about Baba Yolbe. And if you have not seen the video that I did on Baba Yolbe Mei to better understand what does that sign encompass, what does that sign mean, look to that video. All right, that video is posted here on YouTube. All right, when we talk about Baba Yolbe Mei as a Toyale, right, when we talk about it in reference to Ogunda Verde, right, and we look at the prophecy, right, and we put that all together, this is what we come out with, right? We come out with Baba Yolbe is a sign that talks about a lot of purity. It talks a lot about the sun. It talks about the beginning of things, the tranquility and the peace that's required in order to be successful. Because Baba Yolbe Mei tells us that when we find ourselves in that spiritual bliss, right, and we find ourselves there, that things will begin to develop. Physically, spiritually, mentally, and socially within your community, things are going to begin to make sense. Okay, but that's easier said than done. When Baba Yolbe Mei comes out in a Toyale, all right, the first thing that it tells you is you need to organize your life. So for 2022, for those who are following the Cuba Letra de Ano, the Odun of the year, it's very important for us to understand organization. And how do we better organize ourselves so that we are successful in life? Whether it's organizing at work, whether it's organizing with people, whether it's organizing spiritually, very important for you to understand that. Okay? And then understanding that when you're organizing, you're not going off of the gut sense of things, you're using your head. Baba Yolbe Mei is a sign of intelligence. It's a sign that tells you need to apply yourself. It's a sign that says, hey, be very careful, because if you sit on the negative aspect of this sign, what you find is disarray. What you find is you're not pure. You're not having that tranquility in your life that you require. You're gonna have mental health struggles with anxiety, with isolation, with divorce, separation. You're gonna cause more harm to yourself than good. So you need to put your foot forward and apply this sign to everything in life. And the beautiful part about Baba Yolbe that makes it a little bit less complicated is that Baba Yolbe is the basis of all 255 signs, right? It is the base of everything, right? So if you have 256 signs stacked up, Baba Yolbe is number one. That is your foundation to all the Ifa oracles. So with that said, it fits in every one of your Mano de Orulas Oduns. Right? If you have Awofaka, if you have Ikofa, Baba Yolbe is sitting there as a foundation. So something that we need to kind of understand going forward. So that makes it easy because it applies all the same to everyone. Baba Yolbe May says use your ori, use your head. Your head has the capacity to do anything. And as long as you are meeting your ita and your sign in Mano de Orula, then the star is the limit, and even further. Go and do the things that you need to do. Now, the head governs the body. Okay, an old saying, all right? Because it's important for us to understand that sometimes our body urges things. Sometimes our body wants a lot of things, but doesn't necessarily need things. The concept of Ori is important. The concept of Ori, and I have another video on Ori that I had already touched on. Please do your due diligence. Focus on your Ori for 2022 for those following the Cuba Letra de Ano. New beginnings, in the beginning of all things. When we talk about Baba Yolbe, all right, we talk about the things that began, right? The first creation of things. Baba Yolbe gives us the no kidding history of how the world began, right? And it all started with the sun. It all started with the first light. It all started with different aspects of beginnings, right? So let's look at that concept of beginning. What does beginning mean for you? Well, beginning means ultimately that you have to find your way. Right? Maybe you've been lost because the last 2 years we've had nothing but political chaos, pandemics, unsurety, whether or not we're going to work, not going to work, getting vaccinated, not getting vaccinated. What does the beginning look for you in 2022? Should we not balance our lives to understand that, hey, you know what, if you want to get to work and there's certain requirements to get to work, should we not jump on that? And maybe we should not necessarily fight the current, but flow with the current. Why is that important? Because the more chaos you create in your life, and I will give you an example, a very controversial example, the COVID-19 vaccine. A lot of people don't want to take the vaccine for whatever reason, right? And I'm not arguing reasoning, I'm not arguing science, I'm not even arguing anything, but I'm merely giving you an example. Not taking the vaccine causes you to either not work, possibly you're a little bit more susceptible to more severe symptoms. You're not able to socialize. You're not able to create some of those physical, requirements, whether it's going to the gym, whether it's socially, seeing people and having those interpersonal interactions. Those things are all important. So not taking the vaccine kind of begins to build barriers, frustrations, alienation, separation. Those are the type of things that Baba Yolbe begins to tell you need to think about. What is best for you? I'm not saying do anything about the vaccine. I've gotten to both vaccines and a booster. I personally, that's my choice. But what I'm trying to tell you is do not open that door to cause yourself more frustration, more anxiety. Because that right there is what's going to cause you to go down that wrong road that Baba Yolbe Mei does not want us to go through. Okay, now when we talk about Baba Yolbe, right, I'm going to tell you now, leaders must step up. and take control. If you are a leader in your community, if you're a leader in your ile, if you are a priest or priestess, Baba Yolbe is telling you it is time to step up. If you are not stepping up and you're not taking care of your obligations, if you're not taking care of your family, let's say you're a family person and you have a house and you have a wife, kids, if you're not the leader that you are taking care of, and you're just not doing those obligations and responsibilities that you are destined to do and that it is required to do because it's an expectation of humankind, take care of your own, then you're going to have a problem, because that's going to cause some of that chaos. That's going to break down that organizational structure, and it's going to cause a lot of frustration, which is going to begin to taint your ori. You're going to get frustrated. You're going to begin to follow things with emotion instead of logic, and bad things happen. That's Baba Yobemeyi. And more importantly, when we look at Baba Yobemeyi, I'm going to tell you to honor Eshu. Honor him. Take care of him. For those who have Eshu in their house, they receive Mano de Orula, warriors. You have an Eshu. Honor it. Because with Baba Yolbe comes the sun, the light, the purity. But more importantly, is understanding that this faith is balanced. And Eshu becomes that other side, right, of that light, of that sun. He is your shadow. He is also the opposite side of Baba Yolbe. You can't have one without the other. And signs like Osarafobeo and whatnot begin to tell us that we need to have those two in order for the world to maneuver the way it maneuvers for the betterment of mankind. Honor Eshu. Okay, now, I mentioned Baba Yobe, right? But now I want to talk to you about the prophecy, right? Before I jump into the first witness and the second witness. The prophecy that came out is Ireariku Oyali Elese Odudua, all right, with Onichiotrum. Okay, when we look at Baba Yolbe, and I begin to tell you that you need to organize yourself, and I told you all this good stuff about Baba Yolbe, right? And then we look at something that says Baba Ireariku. Ireariku is long life, it's blessings, but Ariku is very similar to the concepts of Baba Yolbe, right? New beginnings, right? This blessing of Ariku is a fresh start for a lot of things. That means that everybody has the blessing to begin. So the Baba Yolbe with Ireariku complements that. But something that I mentioned earlier was the balance that needs to be maintained. Baba Yolbe, Ireariku, very pure, very good. But unfortunately, you can't look at Ariku without looking at the negative side of Ireariku. No different than when you would your Toyale, Baba Yolbe. We honor Eshu because we know Eshu can be a very controversial or a very... a force not to be reckoned with, because it can begin to interfere with our lives if you don't do the proper things with Eshu. So this year you're supposed to do a lot of things with Eshu. When we talk about Ariku, when we talk about long life, right? Because those are one of the elements of Ariku is long life, right? Blessings. Then you begin to see misfortune. You begin to see death. But more importantly, you begin to see death, but you begin to see death with Ilese Odudua. Odudua is almost the king of the dead, right? You can almost say that. His reactions and his attraction, his energy, how it flows with the spirit world is a force to be reckoned with. You have to be careful on that element. Elese Odudua. So do not attract that massive negative energy that can possibly be pulled, because that essence is already there with Odudua. Odudua is a beautiful Orisha, okay? But it lives in a certain concept of energy that counteracts Ariku. And if you look at the negative side of Ariku, you don't want to attract that energy. So people, today is the day where you begin 2022 thinking, blessings, long life, Baba Yolbe. I need to organize myself. I need to get my head right. I need to have a game plan. I don't need emotion. I need logic. I need to lead, so that you don't see that negative side that is very, very relevant and is very, very possible if you're not careful. And then we talk about Onichiotrum. If you have not heard about the concept of Onichiotrum, Ortune is the same Orisha that saved mankind, that went to the foot of Olofin and begged for mankind's survival. Ortune's concept and energies, right? We're making sure that we bring love and we bring more of a passion to our lives is real. And when you see Ortune, you know that with Ortune and then Elesio Dodua, Dodua is the one that's leading the charge now with this prophecy, that there is something in the mist. There's something brewing. Honor Ortune. Honor Ortune. Very important. Okay. Now, when we talk about who's governing this year for the Letra de Ano de Cuba, we talk about Obatala and Ochanla. And what does that mean? Baba Yolbe, I told you, talks about the Ori. When we talk about Obatala, we talk about the owner of all heads. We remember seeing the story of where Obatala is no longer the one who dictates who is a child of Obatala, because they gave it to the neutral party of Orumila in order to do that with Mano de Orula. This is a year where you get organized, people. And I'm going to say something that, some will like, some won't like. But you need to receive your Mano de Orula in order to dictate who your head is. Your Ori and Baba Yolbe is very much alive in this sign this year. It is important that you do that through a Mano de Orula ceremony to figure out who is your guardian Orisha, your Abatori. Okay? That is very, very important. And I plead the other side of Osha to ensure that that happens through Orumila, through Obabalao, because that is the answer. That is what the oracles teach us, especially because Obatala is now governing. And if he governs all heads, okay, that's a problem. Why? Because there's balance in life that's required. Obatala's coming in with force, with patience, tranquility, and is going to govern the way he knows to be governed. But the Batakis teach us that was not the right way. So we look at Obatala on both sides of the spectrum. Peace, tranquility, beautiful. The white cloth, beautiful. But then we have Ochanla, who's the mother, who's basically the mother of creation. Ochanla is an aspect of Obatala already, but the wise one, which begins to teach us that Obatala, accompanied by the wisdom of this mother, an aspect of Obatala, needs to be reinforced. The thought processes, the logic, doing our ceremonies properly spiritually, doing our physical aspects spiritually, listening to our elders, because even Ochanla is an elder in the path of Obatala. Very important for us to kind of understand how those processes take place. So we need to recognize those things, and we need to look a little bit deeper than just the frosting on the cake. Look at what the oracles are coming out and saying. What is Ifas talking about? Just because you see governing Obatala, everybody celebrates. Just because you say, oh, Ire Ariku, Elese Ododu, everybody celebrates. But I warn you, understand that there's a lot of goodness going on. Yes, Baba Yolbe, Ire, Ilese Ododua, phenomenal Orisha, governing Orisha Obatala. You think everything is perfect and in bliss is actually being very challenged, because it's very hard to maintain an Ire if you don't have the proper guidance. So then I begin to tell you all these things, right? Based on the first sign, the prophecy, and the governing Orisha. And then I tell you, here is where the warnings come in through your first and your second witness. We talk about Ogunda Olbe. And how does Ogunda Olbe challenge Baba Yolbe May in the prophecy of Iriariku? How is it going to solve your problems of making sure that you stay organized and you stay on top of Baba Yolbe Iriariku? Right? Well, I would tell you that Ogunda Olbe begins to challenge you mentally. It begins to give you all those urges. Remember what I told you about Bayolbe? Is the head carries the body, right? The head is the one that needs to dictate and move. Leaders need to step up. Well, Ogunda Olbe tells you now you're going to be challenged with seduction, with jealousy. You're going to make promises that you can't keep. So then guess what you should be doing? Avoid the seduction, avoid the jealousy, humble yourself. Don't make promises that you cannot keep, because those things are going to hurt you. But not only for you, we're talking about a letra de año for the world. So therefore, be careful about other people that fall into those traps and begin to entrap you. Begin to create an imbalance in your world. Understand who is your circle and don't allow anybody to interfere with that circle. Be careful of that Trojan horse. If you look at history, right? Don't allow someone to come in and become that cancer spore that's going to grow and interfere with your life, your growth, both physically, spiritually, mentally. It doesn't matter what it is. Be careful. That's what Ogunda Olbe warns us with. And then Ogunda Olbe tells us, because you're doing that and you're looking at your circle and you're trying to maintain that circle tight, right? That also means that you have to stay in your lane. Physically, spiritually, you have to stay in your lane. What does that mean? Don't bite off more than you can chew. Don't bite off more than you can chew. So ultimately, understand your limitations. Be realistic with yourself, right? That's very important. If it's not simple, if it's not measurable, if it's not attainable, it's not realistic, it's not timely, right? It's an old concept called SMART. If you look at the acronym SMART, Ogunda Olbe requires you to make sure that you are doing this in a very organized manner, as Baba Olbe tells us. So pay attention to Ogunda Olbe into that perspective, please. And then when we talk about honoring our promises, and we talk about Baba Olbe being the first one saying leaders need to lead, right? Ogunda Olbe tells us the same thing. Ogunda Olbe tells us to honor our relationships. So for those who have intimate partners, spouses, friends, family, now's not the year to start doing, shady business to a certain extent. You need to honor those relationships. You need to maintain those relationships. This is going to be the year where we need to band together, right? Band together in order to be successful. Okay? So please pay attention to that. Honor your relationships. And more importantly, Ogunda Olbe, oh my gosh, honor Eshu again. I mentioned it in Baba Olbe, and Ogunda Olbe, I'm going to say it again. Eshu is a force you do not want to reckon with. You do not want that in your life. Honor him in that sign. In that sign, you will begin to see where in Baba Olbe and Ogunda Olbe, Eshu's influence to ensure that we are following the no kidding laws, we're doing the bowls, we're morally correct, we're following the 16 mandates. Those things are important, guys. Those things are important. All right? Then we talk about our second witness. When we talk about Ofun Olbe. And Ofun Olbe begins to say that you're almost on top of a mountain, right? Top of the mountain. You're living high, the high life. Life is great. But as you live on top of that life, you begin to see that the first witness, if you're not careful, you begin to spiral out of control. To the point where the second witness in Ofun Olbe, we start to see some of the more tragic sides of things. We begin to see violent death. We begin to see health concerns deteriorating. We begin to see where Obatala is going to have to even force himself into a state of savior mode. He's going to have to come in hard and save humans because humans are not saving themselves. But don't be fooled. You got to do your part in order for you to be saved. And then we look at how even Orishas at a certain point are being tossed out. of lands. And we need to maintain our spiritual awareness. Why? Because there will be false judgment out there. There will be people following the wrong people. There will be people following the leader that's not the leader. And as Baba Yolbe told us to do, be the leaders that we know we need to be, or be the follower to the leaders that are worth a damn. Let's just be frank about it. Right? Because in the story of Ofun Olbe, this is where Baba Luaye was even kicked out of his own lands. Why? Because they saw who he was. They saw the secretion of all the body fluids and they didn't want any of that. And they threw out basically a king. But it was a process, right? Because they threw out a king that they didn't know was going to be a king. And later on became a king and became a powerful force. Very important to kind of understand, again, as we begin to unravel these signs, what does that mean? And then I told you about don't bite off more than you can chew. Okay? That is a very, very, it complements Ogunda Olbe. Don't bite off more than you can chew. Here's why. There's an old story that talks about where Oya's son died when he did Ifa. There's a ceremony in Ifa at the last day that's called Joje, that the son did not survive, right? And it caused a lot of controversy. It caused a lot of heartache, right? A mother losing a son is never a good thing. But in that sign, what is the lesson? The death, the health. Baba Luaye is still running rampant, right? However, you can also look at it, Baba Luaye being removed in 2022, meaning that the pandemic should be dying out. But being that this is the second witness, I'm not necessarily confident that it's going to die out anytime soon. So we have to start to put this together to better understand. Don't bite off more than you can chew. If you're not designed to be a Bawalao, you should not be going through Ifa. If you're going to become a Bawalao, you need to ask Ifa, hey, is this person ready to go? If you're going to go do something like Osha and get crowned, you should be asking Ifa, hey, should I be going getting crowned so I can sit my guardian Orisha? All these moves should be asked. All these eboses need to be done. Careful what you ask for. Don't bite off more than you can chew. All right? If you're working and you know you're working yourself to the ground and you're pulling 80 hours a week, talking on the physical side now, right? And you know you're wearing yourself out and your back is hurting and you're tired and you're worn out, you're biting off more than you can chew. And for what? For money? Is the money that important that you're willing to die for that money? Probably not. There might be a better way to kind of maneuver. Am I saying don't work hard? No, I'm saying work hard. You got to work hard physically and spiritually. And you got to get your mind right. But be careful that you don't exceed those limits of your body, of your mind. Make sure you walk humble. Make sure that you walk correct and you organize your life. Okay, I said a mouthful there, guys. I said a mouthful. For those who don't follow in the Letra de Ano de Cuba, all right, I would tell you now, anytime Baba Yolbe comes out, it's very important for us to remember certain things and certain taboos. Baba Yolbe May tells us that we should dress more in white. You shouldn't go out the first 16 days. So from the 1st to the 16th of January, you should not go out. If you are receiving this consejo, right, this advice now for the first time, then apply the 16 days starting today. Not on the 1st, starting today. We don't know what we don't know. And Obatala is telling us through Ochanla, okay, that we need to better organize ourselves and we need to sit back for 16 days and kind of see how things play out. We need to cleanse ourselves, clean ourselves, whether it's spiritual baths or whatnot. Don't forget that I mentioned Onichiotrum. Okay, there is an Imbo for Ochun. My advice to you is to go see your spiritual elder, all right, and ask them, is there something specific that I could do for Ochun based on my sign and based on the Letra de Ano that's going to be effective for me to honor Ochun and for me to honor Eshu? because those are the two divinities that you want to pay attention to. And not to forget Ochanla. For my brothers and sisters in Ocha, if there is something that is lacking, and you are a son or daughter of Obatala, and you're supposed to receive Ochanla, you might want to get on that ASAP. You might want to get on that ASAP. If you are meant to receive Olokun, I will tell you now that Ofunalbe, that's not, or Ofungolbe, I'm sorry, is not the sign that you want to take lightly. Receive Olokun for your health. Receive Olokun for your health. All right, that's very important. If that is something that you're supposed to or you've been pending to receive. Okay. With that said, I want to leave you with one last thing on the Letra de Ano for Cuba, the flag. Your flag is as simple as it can be. A white flag that denotes and gives way to Obatala and Ochanla in your life, saying that you are going to make this pact, saying that you are going to follow this advice, saying that ultimately at the end of the day, it's not a white flag of surrender. It's a white flag of new beginnings, like Baba Yolbe, Ideariku, and what they bring to the table. So with that said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I did this specifically for those who asked me to do it. There was a lot of requests on Cuba, and I get it. They've been around the game for 28, 30 years doing this, and a lot of people still honor that, and a lot of Iles do. So, I hope this was beneficial for you and your family. With that said, much love to you. Please don't forget to hit the like button. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Very important. Share, share, share. Because there's people out there that still need this English translation, that needs to hear the good words of these Oduns and how they better translate in their lives. So with that said, like I've always said, follow your elders, follow your Ile, talk to your godparents. If there's something that you need to do, get that first of the year consult that can better relate to your Awofaka or Ikofa sign and the Letra de Ano, because those three together begin to build that triangle of power, man. You know what I mean? You got to get it in, right? We need to understand that. So with that said, many blessings to you all. Again, happy holidays. Iburu, Iboya, Ibucheche, Cyberland.